Hey guys, what's going on? Basin Boy here, and welcome to another video here on the channel in our Ramble review series. These videos go up every Tuesday and Sunday, and we talk about different games, what I liked about them, what I didn't like about them, what I recommend the games, that sort of stuff. Last time we talked about Scarlet Nexus. I'll make sure I put a thing up in the top corner here, so if you want to go check out that video, you definitely should, because I really think that game deserves a lot more credit than you've probably seen, or maybe you've never even heard of the game before. So go ahead and check that out. There's no spoilers, no nothing at all. But today our topic is Fire Emblem Three Houses, one of my favorite games of all time. Can you believe that? We're already the second game into this series, and we're already tackling one of my favorite games of all time. I know it's shocking, but I really needed to talk about this because I recently replayed it, or played it through for the first time, I guess, and it just kind of really hit me in a different way, and I wanted to provide you all with these unfiltered thoughts, this idea of why I like Fire Emblem and why you might like Fire Emblem as well. So first thing we're going to start off with is the characters. I think that that's the biggest thing in this game, is the relationships that you make with all of the characters. They are so well written, from the minor characters to the story heavy characters to the characters that are just in your house and they're just there for you. I think it is amazing. I think the way that they did this and the way it's presented is, I think that that's what makes this game one of my favorite games of all time, because you care about these characters. You care about them so much. In the game, you can choose between two options. You can choose between classical or casual, and I chose classic for my Golden Deer run, which is the route I chose, and we'll get to that in a second. But I chose classic, and so that means if one of my characters dies, they're dead. They don't come back. They don't get to make it to their ending. And I think that adds a layer of challenge to this as well. I normally don't like to play games on the hardest difficulties because it frustrates me and it kind of takes away from the story. That's the reason I play games, and you'll understand when we get further in this series and when I talk about other games and why I like them or why I didn't like them. Because while gameplay is a huge aspect of video games and immersing yourself in that experience, I personally love the stories behind the game, and I think Fire Emblem does a great job with that. And as I said, losing characters, I would reset a whole chapter, because I would not want to lose a character. Or in combat, we'll get to that in a second, but there's a way to rechange some things and move things around in combat, and when we get to the gameplay section, we'll talk about that more. But I think overall, the one thing that you should take away from this review, or the big thing, is that this game focuses on characters so much, and they do it so well. I don't think that there was like any out of place moments for these characters. I think all of them were very, very well written. There's just so much depth inside of each of these characters, which I love. And I think the one big thing is the way that they do the support things, and we talked a little bit about like support things in Scarlet Nexus, but the way that you rank up your teammates or your classmates in this game is you have support things with them, and they play a little story, and it can be a little funny, it can be actually even sad. Like there's some that really like kind of hit my emotions hard, and it's not just between your character and the character that you choose to level up the support with. It's between it doesn't even involve your character. Sometimes it's two characters in your house, or a character that you brought into your house, or just all these sorts of different things, which I think really makes these characters come alive and makes this game feel alive. You feel these connections with these characters because you start seeing them do things outside of just talking to you as the main character, which I think I absolutely love it. Now, switching gears to more of a gameplay focused perspective rather than talking about characters and everything like that. The gameplay in this game is I wouldn't say it's anything special. It's nothing out of the ordinary for like a JRPG, CRPG sort of style, turn-based combat sort of style. It's exactly what it looks like in the gameplay above. Like there's nothing that you don't see here. It's just, you can choose to attack, you can choose to move, you can use these things called combat arts, and that's about it. And you have to do strategy and stuff like that, because there's times like that this game gets really hard, even on like normal or the harder modes. Like, it gets very difficult if you don't think about it right. You don't do the strategies that you should. You don't use the correct characters to attack specific types of classes. And I think that it's nothing huge. It's nothing like detrimenting. Like, if I went in and I attacked a heavy armor unit with a bow, it's not going to do as much damage as with a magic user, because that's just how it kind of works. But it does punish you in those sorts of things. Is you're not going to do as much damage. It's going to take longer to make them dwindle down. You need to like focus on what type of characters you have in your house. If you have a very heavy magic house, or you decide to recruit people that are more magic based into your house, you need to understand that you're going to have trouble with some units that are much better like magic resistance. Or if you have if you have a house with other people that use a lot of bows, you're gonna have a lot of long range. But when it comes to people coming up close to you who have a lot of movement, like cavalry units or like that sort of stuff, like that's when you're gonna run into issues. So you need to really round out your house when you start thinking about who you're going to put into battle here. And so I think that's one of the cool things, is that it's not just super easy at all. It's actually very complicated, but not so complicated that it's not accessible for everybody. So if you actually enjoy this sort of combat and you're a little worried that, oh, this game might be too hard for me, or I don't think that this game I'm worried that this game's going to be too much, I would say no. It's really well done, and it doesn't feel like it's super hard until it gets super hard. And you kind of hit that point as well when you start playing. You're like, this is the hard part right here. This is the part of the game that is super hard, and I need to start focusing more and more. I can't just doze off. I can't just randomly move units here or there and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed the combat. I really enjoyed the idea of using different types of characters. I like the different weapons that you can equip them with, and the way that they deal with the upgrade system and all that sort of stuff. I just think that this game did a lot of things very well. I don't think that this game was the best in anything. Okay, I think the way that they handled the characters was probably the best game that I've seen handle character interactions outside of between the protagonist and the other characters. Like, that's probably where it's the best. But like, in terms of combat and stuff like that, it didn't do anything like revolutionary, but it was still very well done. Everything that this game did was well done, and I think that's just why I recommend this game to almost everybody that asks me if they should play Fire Emblem. I say, for the characters and the gameplay, while it might take a little bit for you to get used to if you're not used to these sorts of games, it's not punishing, because later on you get a thing that you can help rewind battle. You can rewind time to, like, if you make a clumsy decision, you're playing on classic and somebody dies, oh well, you can rewind time a little bit and fix that for the few turns. And it does a really good job of showing the different stats and all that sort of stuff every time a character levels up, so you can see where they're kind of being put and what stats might be beneficial to level up eventually. And I think that they do also a really good job of showing you how to multi-class different characters. Like a character named Lorenz, who is a spear user at the very beginning, had a little budding talent, which are these little tiny stars. When you teach them as a teacher, you can explore those budding talents and make them much better. So Lawrence was originally a spear user, but I actually leveled him up to be a magic user because that's kind of what he seemed like he wanted to be, and he excelled at that. I really didn't use Lawrence in the second half of the game, but that's beside the point. It's just showing that all these characters can have different growths. They're not committed to one class. If you wanted to make your character not a swords master and you wanted your character to be a healing class, you can absolutely do that. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And that's what I like about this game. It has a lot of replayability aspects as well. So the final thing I'm going to talk about, and I'm not going to spoil any big story points, because I know that that's super like a no-no, and I don't want to spoil this game for you. I suggest you go and play it. This game has 3 houses: the Blue Lion, the Golden Deer, and the Black Eagles. When you start the game, you see those 3 houses, and you get to choose which house you would like to teach for them. The way that this game progresses and the way that this game shows you what each house does, even though you're not in that house. So for me, I chose the Golden Deer, as I said. I could see tiny little things of what was happening in the Black Eagles and the Blue Lion's house, like bits and pieces, because you walk around the monastery and you talk to people and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's really cool. It's really fun. But there's nothing like knowing what's going to happen and being like, I wonder how this character is going to react to it because I played it this one way or I played it this one way. And I think it's really cool, and it's really well told storytelling, and I love it so much. And the characters that you can't recruit into your house, like the mentor characters and all that sort of stuff, they're really well done, like throughout the game. And it's just I can't go into more detail because I can't spoil this for you, but I want to tell you that this game's story is probably one of the best stories I've ever played, hands down. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about the DLC. This is like just a brief thing because I don't want to get too far into the DLC because it's just a Fire Emblem review, but I think the DLC is big enough to talk about a little bit here at the end of the review. The DLC, great side story. I love the characters in the story. Yuri is absolutely one of the best characters in this game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yuri, my beloved, yes. I love Yuri, but also Balthus and Constance and Happy. They're all really well-rounded characters, and I would suggest that if you do end up buying the DLC or buying this as a package on the Nintendo eShop or whatever you get, I would recommend playing up until probably there's a big battle about the 7th or 8th chapter where all the houses kind of collide again. I would say that's when you should play the story of the DLC, which can be found in the menu and all that sort of stuff like that. You should play that then, and then recruit the characters into your house if you want to in that main playthrough, which is kind of what I did, and I really enjoyed it. So I recommend the DLC. The story in the DLC is very good, and it just kind of, I don't know, I really enjoyed those characters and learning more about them and how they worked and everything like that. So I said I know I don't like editing in these videos, but I completely forgot 2 huge things rambling my first time talking about it, because once again, Fire Emblem is one of my favorite games. So the first thing is I want to talk about the music and how the music is just one of, if not the best soundtrack for one of these types of games that I've ever listened to. The music is so memorable. It sticks in your head. Like I'll just be singing ba-do-da-ba-doo all the time because it's stuck in my head over and over again. And I think it captures exactly what this game is going for in terms of like combat, and even when you're in the monastery, just listening to that music, or when it switches from the monastery to the cathedral, the tiny bits of difference between those 2 things really is what makes the ambiance of this game work. So I think the music is amazing, and it's one of the best parts about this game. Even though I've given this game so many great reviews, I think the music is something not to just kind of look at and be like, oh, it's there. It's a prime example of how music can make a game even better. And finally, the overall scoring for this game, I think that this game goes really well in the 90s category, the top echelon, because it's, once again, it's one of my favorite games of all time, because it succeeds in doing a whole bunch of different things very, very, very well. It might not do everything perfectly, and no game that I'm going to ever review on this channel, or even in my life past this channel's lifespan and everything like that, I don't think that any game can get 100%. Like, there will never be a game that's 100 out of 100. I don't even know if there's going to be any games that are 99 out of 100. But I really think that this game sits in like the 96, 97 category for me, because it does so many things and it does it so well, and it just captures what I love about video games: making bonds with characters, having an amazing story to tell, and also just making it replayable. So if I wanted to come back and see these characters again, I can do that, but I can choose a different route this time as well, and I think it does a great job with that. Now I'm going to throw it back over to me to introduce the next game. Now it's time to talk about where we're going next on Tuesday. Tuesday, we're going to be delving into an indie game, a smaller indie game that took me about 6-7 hours to beat, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. It's probably not going to be as long as a review as these past two have been, because there's not as much to talk about, but the game we're going to be talking about is I am super excited to review Death's Door, which is probably one of the indie gems that I've played this year, and one of the better games I've actually played this year, that came out in 2021, of course. But that will be happening on this Tuesday. I hope you join me there for more, for us talking about that and everything like that. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you click the subscribe button down below, hit that bell. It really helps a lot. Also, leave some comments of games that you might want me to review. I've played a lot of games, but there's also so many that I haven't touched at all yet, and I would love to hear from all of you. Make sure you also click that like button, because it really does help get this video going. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day. Don't forget, tell somebody you love them. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.